Like many of you, I love to read, and I honestly, maybe selfishly, want that to feel limitless. I never want to be bound by financial restrictions in the hobbies that I love, or forced to go into Kindle Unlimited catalog and pick something from there every time I want to read something new. I want to read what I want, when I want, and for the least amount of money possible. The average bookworm can spend anywhere from $500 to $1,000 plus a year on books. If you have money like that, I respect you, I appreciate you, and I will live vicariously through you. But if you're like me, maybe you're self-employed or your bank account is only set up one way, then you still want to build your dream library and collect amazing, beautiful stories. And I'm gonna show you how I'm doing that. And before you label and judge me, know that I honestly do want authors to be successful. I want to see bookstores thrive and grow. I want to see publishing survive the digital age and the inevitable but beautiful plague that is AI. But if there's a way I can read something for cheaper, I'm going to find it. Today, I'd like to share all the ways that I seek out, find, and read books from my actual TBR while doing so on a sustainable budget, using library apps, subscription services, and secondhand book shopping. I hope you learned something today, and maybe you'll drop your budget-friendly reading tip in the comments below. In 2024, I read or listened to 51 books, and after doing some calculations, I found that I spent about $220 total on all of those books, equaling out to about $5 per read. I am currently self-employed. I've been self-employed for nearly a decade, and honestly, I have to watch my budget. I have to be careful. I never know really how my income will fluctuate. I love my hobbies. I don't want them to be restricted or bound by anything, especially finances. Now, I thought the easiest way we could do this was just to kind of look at the ways that I read in 2024, and I could kind of break down how I obtained those reads. I don't want to scare you away or disappoint you by saying that the largest chunk of my reading came from subscription services, because it might not be exactly what you think. These 19 books stem mostly from Book of the Month and Spotify Premium. If you're in a lot of book spaces online, you have probably already seen advertisements for Book of the Month. You might already even have a Book of the Month subscription. But if you don't, Book of the Month is a subscription service that ships new release books, hardcover, straight to your door. Each month, they list a variety of books on their app for you to choose from, spanning different genres and even featuring debut authors. With the base subscription, you get one hardcover book every month, shipped directly to your door for $18, which, if you know the cost of hardcover books, you know that that is easily 20 to 40% off of MSRP. There are also a ton of other books to choose from as add-ons for $12 extra, which again is insane for essentially a brand new hardcover bound book. What I really love and respect most about Book of the Month, and why I continue to give them my money even if I don't always love the selections, is because they really take care of their customers. In fact, if you don't love a selection or the options that month, you can skip the following month and you won't actually be charged again until you pick your next read. I did this a few times last year. I found that it was really good, especially if I knew that a month upcoming I didn't have a lot of things booked and my budget would be a little tighter. I also might be biased and cherish Book of the Month a little extra because some of my friends use it as kind of our monthly book club. We choose our monthly reads together and try to read them together throughout the month, and it's a great way to stay connected across long distances. They also have an awesome reward system for placing regular orders with all sorts of cute goodies that ship in your boxes, including these cute little stickers that I got during the holiday season. I also got this cute little tote with a little book pocket for recently reaching a certain status within the app. If you are interested in checking Book of the Month out below, again, this is not a sponsored ad, but I do have a link for them in the description, and I do get a little bit of something back in the form of some credits for books. All right, now don't be mad, but I may have only slightly misled you, because the Spotify books that I listened to last year, I actually did not include in the calculations for the books that I read, because girl math, I already pay for my Spotify subscription, so the extras are just free. Right? Seeing that Spotify is the superior music streaming service, you might already have a Spotify subscription, and if that's the case, you might not know that you also get 15 hours of audiobook listening every month through Spotify. The audiobook catalog on Spotify is actually massive, and it's honestly filled with really great books. Everything from classics to brand new releases can be found on their catalog. I personally did not think that such a big portion of my reading would come from audiobooks, and I definitely think that when there's more love put into the audiobook development, that it comes through really well. well, and there are a lot of talented voice actors out there that do narration for audiobooks. If I don't like the narrator of an audiobook that's on my TBR, I usually will just skip it, find another way to read that book, and move to another audiobook if I can. When you find a good audiobook, it can really be a great way to freshen up monotonous tasks like driving or doing your laundry or doing the dishes. So I think maybe giving audiobooks a chance in 2025 if you have a Spotify subscription might be a good choice. I don't really want to spend too much time on this next subscription service because a lot of you, if you read often, you probably already know about Kindle Unlimited. Maybe you're already a subscribed. I personally do not keep a Kindle Unlimited subscription. I did read 2 books out of their catalog last year. However, I only paid $5 for 2 months of the subscription, meaning that the 2 books that I did read equaled out to about $2.50 each. How I did that was waiting for a special holiday promo and using that as the opportunity to read what I wanted to read on the catalog. I personally don't get a lot of value out of Kindle Unlimited. I just don't read a lot of books that are in their catalog, so the $12 a month is never really worth it for me personally. However, I know that a lot of people read strictly from the Kindle Unlimited catalog and have a great time doing so. And if that is the case and you get the value out of it and it fits into your reading budget, then you're doing great. So the second largest chunk of my reading last year came through library apps, and I really owe this hack to my mother-in-law. She's the one who put me on to the darling digital angels that are Libby and Hoopla. Now, I am personally a huge homebody. I like to stay home, play video games, get cozy under my heated blanket, and read a book. And if you're anything like me, you might not want to go to your local library as much as you wish and hope that it looked like something out of Beauty and the Beast. It just does not. So I much prefer to access my library's catalog digitally. Through Libby and Hoopla, I am able to essentially find any book that my library has in its catalog. If you haven't heard of Hoopla, it is essentially the same thing as Libby, except everything is instantly available, so you're not waiting days, weeks, months for a loan that you're interested in. Of course, Libby usually has the better catalog, more new releases, and a wider selection in general, but I find that Hoopla can be surprising. And if you aren't using any of these apps, I highly recommend checking if your local library is partnered with any of them. They are seriously a game changer. I believe it's something like 90% of United States libraries are connected. They even have associations in Canada, I think Australia. Also, if you don't already have a library card, you can easily sign up for one of those online too. Most library cards for the county that you live in are absolutely free. And if you find that your library is lacking, or you'd like to explore what other counties near you or even other states near you have to offer, most of the time you can purchase monthly or annual memberships to another library for a small fee. Also, supporting your local library is really good for the community, as they often provide resources for people who don't have other means. We have now reached my favorite part of the video, and that is all about the secondhand goods. Secondhand shopping, baby. I know there are a lot of reasons why people might not like to procure secondhand goods, and a lot of those are totally valid. I also know that a lot of people might not have the best selection at their secondhand stores. I know that I'm personally lucky because I have several great secondhand or discount bookstores near me. I have some of the largest locations of Second & Charles on the East Coast, not far from me. I also have a really good state chain called Book Exchange with locations. I think there's like 7 total locations around the cities near me, and I know that I'm spoiled. I will say that I've definitely explored my fair share of other thrift stores, seen some really gross books, but also some really beautiful gems of books. And I think if you're more specific about looking for a secondhand bookstore or a discount bookstore, you are more likely to find things of better quality. So my local bookstores personally will have random extra sales on top of the price that's already discounted. I know that Second & Charles often does like penny per page sales. They will have you buy like a tote and stuff the tote with as many books as you can. They have a 4 for $10 section that's constantly rotating. Book Exchange also mostly does their books at 50% off MSRP, which is very transparent. They always have the pricing there. I know that scouring different bookstores and thrift stores can feel intimidating and overwhelming, but if you go in with the purpose and know what you're looking for, that can often make things a lot easier. My favorite example of this is when I started reading the Dark Tower series. I initially found The Gunslinger for like $6.50 at a local bookstore, and after I read the first one, I was like, you know what? I really like this. I want to get into this and start collecting these. And I started looking out for them everywhere I went. A lot of times big authors like Stephen King will be very easy to find in discount bookstores because there will be a lot of their work there. And I will say it's also really fun to find different and special editions of books, old. I think a lot of classically published books, a lot of things from like the 80s and 90s are just created differently. They were published differently with different intentions. There's a lot of more hand-drawn artwork inside of them, and they just smell freaking good. So there's that. If you're regularly thrifting books from unknown locations, I would just highly recommend treating or cleaning your books before you store them with other books or bring them around other important things in your home. I have read tons of horror stories about people getting book lice and ruining their entire personal library. So I would not want that to happen to you. I personally use the freeze in a bag technique pretty much every time I bring used books home. I put them in a grocery bag, put them in my freezer, and leave them in there for sometimes 3 to 4 days. A lot of the other books I read, I'm going to kind of throw into an other category. A lot of the books that I obtained this way were through trades with friends, which I think is really cool, and also gifts or advanced reader copies. Of course, swapping books with friends might not be for everybody. You might cherish the copies of your books and not want to risk them in someone else's possession. However, a lot of my books are secondhand, so I don't really mind, and I actually think it's kind of fun and interesting to see what my friends are annotating or what things they wanted to highlight in the books that stood out to them versus what I highlighted in the book. If this is something that you get into, it's important to set boundaries or expectations with whoever you're trading with, so you both feel like your property is respected. I am personally all for the old saying that sharing is caring, and I think sharing books so that you can talk more about books with people you love is extra special. The last thing I want to talk about is sales. Of course, Amazon has Kindle sales constantly. A lot of local bookstores, Barnes & Noble, of course, has their regular sales, but there are a lot of platforms out there that kind of analyze that content and communicate it in a more direct way. One of my favorite services for that is BookBub, and I just signed up for their email list, and every day I get an email that shows all of the digital books that are on sale, including things that are available both on like Apple Books or iOS Books and Kindle. Often the books that are listed on there are $2 to $3 a piece, which is a great way to build out your digital library. Well, that includes my tips and tricks for this video. I hope you learned something new, and I hope you enjoyed your time here. If there was something I left out that you feel is important to mention, please leave it in the comments below. Maybe even like and subscribe if you haven't already, as it really helps me out as a new creator here on YouTube. And until next time, you know the deal. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, be good to the universe, and I will see you next time. Bye!